to the R to the E to the E to the S for LIFE. The community would need, so we're out and planting trees. T to the R to the E to the E to the S for LIFE. The community would need, so we're out and planting trees. Trees for life, we green for life.
Trees are really powerful. In our hectic urban world, they are these big, beautiful things that are on a totally different time scale. Many of them were here when we were born and will live on well after we die. Trees for Life is about planting trees to change the place where we live, to heal our communities, to connect to the earth, and to bring about new life. Violence in Oakland is something that it's gotten to the point where it's kind of like no reason.
Because I've lost a lot of friends to this genocidal tribalism, back and forth violence.
I mean, it's like we don't know what can happen because things can frequently happen and things are so quick to pop off that, things are not safe anymore. So it's like rolling a dice. So
all energy is only borrowed. When we leave this earth, we go right back. When we leave this earth, we go right back into the earth. Our energies and our spiritual energies flow right back to the earth. So by planting a tree, you're actually reincarnating that person's spirit. There's actually spiritual rituals that goes on with the whole act of planting a tree. So I'm all about that 100%.
However we identify, we all end up here in this soil.
Our first Trees for Life workshop was in Mosswood Park, where you can find some of the oldest trees in the city.
We started off by honoring the land through song with Luta Candelaria of the Rumsen Ohlone people. We heard from our elders, Belvie, Rooks, and Dedan Gills, who inspired the Trees for Life project through their own project called Growing a Global Heart. On a trip to the west coast of Ghana, they visited the slave dungeons and were moved by the suffering embodied there. Since then, they've been planting trees around the world to heal communities and honor ancestors.
It was just very encouraging to hear Belvie's story about going to Africa, and it was very emotional for her. And knowing the reason why the program kind of got started also makes it more meaningful to participate in, because there's a fun side to it, but then there's also a serious side to why we are doing Trees for Life. People have been mistreated. It's not only just death, it's like violence. You can be alive and feel dead because of the things that happen in your life.
Xiomara Castro from Urban Peace Movement talked to us about the causes of urban violence and how we can be a part of a shift towards a culture of peace.
The thing that caught my attention that I got real deep into was the meditation and spiritual circle, when we went off on ourselves to really just meditate and kind of manifest on things about going on in our life and something that we can relate ourselves to. And I relate myself to the elements of the world. I relate the certain element I picked was the water, because water is something that's eternal and it's infinite, and that's the giving of life. You know what I mean? I wrote a poem about it too. That was really deep.
From coast to coast, as cool as can be. I run shallow and deep through the bluest of seas.
It started off the whole workshop. It started off the whole program on a spiritual basis, to where I was like, okay, it's a deeper purpose for this than just gaining work experience, which is cool. Gaining work experience in the field of something you're trying to do as far as career goes, but we had a deeper alternative than just that.
We did a lot of workshops with Gregory Tarver, who is a tree arborist expert, I guess I would call it. And he taught us a lot about just the way trees function, the way trees grow, how to care for a tree, the process of a tree growing, how trees live, how they support themselves, how they take a long time. It was just a lot of stuff that's going into it. And to this day, sometimes I still walk around and I'll look at the trees, and if I see a tree that's leaning, I'm like, that tree's wilting. And then I'll be like, oh, this tree's having two different, trucks, and it's co-dominance, and it's all this other It's kind of like fun to me, like knowing things, because it just gives me a different window of knowledge that I can play.
The weather was scorching hot, very hot. I had me some shorts on. I had me just an undershirt. Now when I wear undershirts, that's when it's hot.
While the interns were planting trees, they discovered a root guard buried in the soil, which we had to excavate in order to make sure the tree we planted had a good start.
But it was such a huge pot. Like, how do you put the pot inside the thing? It doesn't make any sense. So it took like 2 hours to dig all the dirt from under it, around it, on top of it, everywhere to pull it out. And like, we finally got it out. It was such of a rejoicing moment, and like, it was amazing.
Our final project was to plant trees at Jungle Hill, which is a community park in East Oakland that was founded by members of the neighborhood in the 1970s. The park has had its ups and downs, and Trees for Life had a real opportunity to make a positive impact.
How it relates to, when you study history, you can always see how it relates to times of right now in modern times. We spent the day in Jungle Hill learning about the history. We looked at the land and the soil type and the needs of the neighborhood and selected tree species that would do well there. Then we went door to door to share information about our tree planting event with the neighbors.
Before our big planting day, we had a celebration dinner with the whole Trees for Life team and their families.
It was really cool because also my family got to see something that, you know, I'm actually doing. It's something that really involves environment and like that's really helping out everybody living cause, you know.
On April 28th, we got there early and set up all the trees. We had a good turnout, about 50 people.
Luta joined us again and shared a song from the Ohlone people, who were the first people to live on the land. We heard from neighbors Loretta Rose and Roger and Regina Chavarine about the history of Jungle Hill. Belvie and Dedan led a dedication of our work, and we had a moment of silence during which we remembered and named the loved ones for whom we were planting trees that day.
My favorite part was the memorial, the music, when we was able to basically say the names of people who passed away and in reference and memorial to them while we planted the tree. It was an act of spiritual reincarnation into the earth. For me, my uncle was a doctor. He passed away. He was due to a homicide. And he was a healer, you know what I'm saying?
My favorite part of the 28th, when we did the big planting day, was, I would have to say, the open mic. It was just a very cool, like, sharing, you know, everybody got some type of talent, so it's just good because we kind of showcased that.
Each other, and we taught a lot to each other, and it was fun. There was a lot of smiles and a lot of jokes. We had music. I loved the music. The music was playing, and it was just a good vibe.
So I can say that I'm officially an urban forester because it's taken that into my personal life too. So.
Trees, I feel good, but the best part is seeing the trees by my house, by 98 gas station.
Well, Trees for Life has made an impact on my life because this summer I got another internship working for environmental law at UC Berkeley.
Basically, the biggest thing I got of it was basically the whole act, the beginning to act it out, because it's one step to start to speak it into existence, and then you start doing it. I started catching myself, all right, picking up trash, you know what I'm saying, on my way to the house. I started to catch myself watering my grass a little bit more, not ignoring it, even just my reaction with wildlife. The environment is you know what I mean? So it starts with you. And the environment says a lot about what you think about, how you feel about yourself.
Do damage productions, huh? T to the R to the E to the E to the S for LIFE. What needs, so we're out and we're trees. T to the R to the E to the E to the S for LIFE.
see the light. We just trying to get back to the environment. Recycle this contaminated oxygen. You either what the problem is or you the solution. It's time to put an end to the pollution. We gotta make it better for the future, cause it's time for change, evolution. Rebuild the town up from the ground up, cause toxins and chemicals surround us. Trees are better for air quality, it's better for ecology, it's good for the economy. We must feed ourselves and free ourselves. Planting trees will help and bring us shelter. Take the opportunity to change the community, cause the change start with you and me.
T to the R to the E to the E to the S for LA.